Good evening, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Anna Kambatar. And for our top stories, Parliament's Economic Standing Committee holds a public hearing on coal shipment and exports. Mongolians in Belgium demand government of Mongolia accountability. And for the news, stay tuned. Parliament's Economic Standing Committee is organizing a public hearing on coal shipments and exports on December 21st. Before the public hearing, representatives of political parties in Parliament made a statement regarding preliminary preparations.
The preliminary press briefing was organized by Parliament members Gambolt Otentoya and Dorchand. According to preliminary data, 298 people outside of Parliament have submitted requests to attend the hearing. The public hearing is covering 6 main issues, including enterprises that mine coking coal in Mongolia and their output, enterprises that transport coking coal and their revenue, and detailed information on coking coal exported through all of Mongolia's border checkpoints. The hearing also includes a discussion of the difference between the cost of coking coal in the international market, Mongolia's export prices, and China's prices. Of particular concern is whether the price differences create conditions for corruption and tax evasion in Mongolia and China. The committee is also reviewing how much funding was mobilized by Erden's Тавantalaga JSC for the Тавantalaga Zumbain and Тавantalaga Kashanshat railway projects and the construction cost per kilometer. The organization of the public hearing was initiated by the Democratic Party and Hum Party. Both parties have demanded that the person at the center of the investigation, former executive director of ETT Kang Hoyek, be present to make a statement at the public hearing. Following several days of protests and the announcement of public hearings, several off-take contracts linked to the coal theft and corruption investigation have been disclosed.
The public hearing was supposed to start at 10 a.m. in 4 different halls. However, members of the public criticized government officials would be convened in one hall, while citizen representatives would be seated in a separate hall with monitors, not allowing them to actively interact and participate in the public hearing. The public hearing working group says it has considered the public suggestion, and a general hearing would be held at 1 p.m. in the Great Hall.
The public hearing was chaired by Member of Parliament Chinzorek and one of the initiators of the hearing, Member of Parliament Otentoya from the Democratic Party. The hearing participants and citizens' representatives asked why the main people linked to the case were not present for the hearing, including the Executive Director of Erden's Тавantalaga Kahoyik, former Director General of the Mongolian Customs General Administration Asralt, and people with executive powers, such as some cabinet members. Some participants noted that state bodies like the General Authority for Border Protection and the Customs Authority of Mongolia should attend the hearing at the decision-making level. In addition, it was demanded that the names of all 59 people linked to the investigation be announced. The names of only 17 officials have been disclosed so far. Meanwhile, some protesters near the government palace gate stripped off their clothes, demanding that President of Mongolia Khurelsukh attend the hearing. During the hearing, some ministers, including Minister of Finance Choklang and Minister of Road and Transport Development Bimtsokt, reported on coal exports.
Around 300 Mongolians are living in the Kingdom of Belgium. In connection to recent events in Mongolia, Mongolians in Brussels and Antwerpen held a peaceful demonstration demanding accountability and the resignation of Mongolian government officials linked to the coal theft and investment allegations.
We here young people are protesting in the cold at the central square. We want our country to develop and be fair. To support the demonstrators, we collected some donations of warm clothes and essentials for them. Those people elected 2 years ago, promising to work hard, putting in their blood, sweat, and tears, are not doing their jobs properly. Instead, they benefit from our natural resources and opportunities that should be evenly distributed to our citizens. People living in the Kingdom of Belgium are free to hold peaceful demonstrations and protests to express their opinions. The Mongolian demonstrators received permission from the local authorities to hold their local demonstration. The demonstrators said they have a list of demands for the government of Mongolia.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rate provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. Leaders from the Middle East and Europe gathered in Jordan Tuesday in the conference focused on bolstering security and stability in Iraq. Jordan's King Abdullah II said in his opening remarks that the meeting takes place at a time when the region is facing a security and political crisis, along with threats to food, water, health and energy security and the impacts of the climate change.
Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron urged leaders in the Middle East to work together to overcome the divisions of the moment. Macron was addressing Middle Eastern and European leaders gathered in Jordan Tuesday in a conference focused on bolstering security and stability in Iraq. The meeting included high-level officials from regional rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran, along with leaders from France, Iraq, Turkey, Egypt, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and the European Union. The countries said the goal was to show support for Iraq, its sovereignty, security, and stability, as well as its political process, its economic and development progress, and its efforts to rebuild. Iraq's stability and security have been shaken for decades by internal and external conflicts. The 2003 US-led invasion led to years of intense violence and sectarian strife, including the creation of the Islamic State extremist group and the empowerment of Iran-backed political factions and militias. More recently, the country has been paralyzed by political gridlock, with the main dividing line running between the Iran's allies and opponents. Tuesday's gathering was held as a follow-up to the Baghdad Conference for Cooperation and Partnership convened in Iraq last year, with France co-organizing. Paris has taken an increasingly active role in the region in recent years, with Macron also attempting to intervene to resolve the political crisis in Lebanon. Speaking at Tuesday's conference, Macron said France is committed to the stability of the region, which he said is struggling with deadlocks, divisions, foreign meddling, and security issues in the interests of promoting peace and security in the broader Mediterranean basin.
Turkey's foreign minister on Tuesday called the refusal of Sweden's top court to extradite the man wanted by Turkey's very negative development, as Ankara continues to delay Sweden and Finland's membership in NATO.
Mevlut Çavuşoğlu said Turkey's request for the extradition of Bülent Keneş was rejected despite a memorandum signed by Turkey, Sweden, and Finland that prevented Turkey's veto in their NATO bid in June. Keneş, 53 years old, who has been granted asylum in Sweden, was the editor of the English-language Today's Zaman newspaper, which was owned by the network linked to the US-based Muslim cleric Fethullah Gülen. It was closed down as part of a government crackdown on the group. Turkey blames Gülen for the failed coup in 2016 and considers his network to be a terror organization. On Monday, Sweden's Supreme Court said that there were obstacles to extradition because it is a matter of so-called political crimes, crimes that are directed against the state and that are political in nature. The joint memorandum states that Finland and Sweden will not provide support to the organization described as FETÖ, which is Turkey's designation of Gülen's network. Çavuşoğlu said coup plotters there would have to be extradited. He repeated that Turkey needed to see concrete steps rather than beautiful words in order to approve the Nordic countries' NATO membership. Turkey also accuses Keneş of being among the coup plotters. NATO member Turkey has been holding up bids by Sweden and Finland to join the military alliance after they dropped their long-standing policies of military non-alignment following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, pressing for the two Nordic countries to crack down on groups it considers to be terrorist organizations and extradite suspects wanted in Turkey. Any decision on NATO enlargement requires approval by all alliance members. The parliaments of Turkey and Hungary have yet to ratify the NATO applications. The 28 other NATO states have already done so.
Amazon has agreed to make major changes to its business practices to settle antitrust investigations that found the e-commerce giant gave itself an unfair advantage over rival merchants, a European Union regulation said Tuesday.
The European Union's Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager gave details of the agreement in a news briefing in Brussels. Amazon promised to give products from rival sellers equal visibility in the buy box, a premium piece of real estate on its website that leads to higher sales.
When it comes to data, Amazon will refrain from using non-public seller data for the benefit of its own retail operations. This is the equivalent to other sellers' operation on its platform to optimize its own retail decisions. The commitments, they apply both to Amazon employees, but also to the algorithmic tools that largely drive the business decisions. In concrete terms, the data commitment explicitly prevents the use of non-public seller data for Amazon decisions. Currently, Amazon uses the data to take decisions such as which product to launch, which price to set, which supplier to choose, or how to manage inventories.
Amazon also agreed to not discriminate against sellers in its Prime membership service and let Prime members freely choose any delivery service. The Commission said it has accepted the commitments from Amazon, which allows the company to avoid a legal battle with the European Union's top antitrust watchdog that could have ended with huge fines worth up to 10% of its annual worldwide revenue. The agreement only applies to Amazon's business practices in Europe and will last for 7 years. The deal comes after Amazon offered concessions in July to resolve 2 European Union antitrust investigations. Under the agreement announced Tuesday, Amazon made improvements to those initial proposals after the Commission tested them out and received feedback from consumer groups, book publishers, and academics.
A broader strategy in some of the other.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Morocco's World Cup heroes were given a royal welcome home on Tuesday when they were met by King Mohammed VI at the Royal Palace in Rabat after the historic tournament in Qatar. King Mohammed VI of Morocco, accompanied by Crown Prince Moulay Al Hassan and Prince Moulay Rachid, received on Tuesday in the throne room at the Royal Palace in Rabat the members of the national soccer team after their brilliant performance in the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. This audience reflects the high solicitude of His Majesty for young people and the special interest that the sovereign grants to the sports sector in general and soccer in particular. It follows the historic and unprecedented achievement made by the national team, which reached the semi-finals, the first and most resounding success of its kind of Moroccan, Arab and African soccer, during the finals of this globe sporting event. During this audience, the sovereign decorated president of the Royal Moroccan Football Federation, Fouzi Lakcha, the coach of the national team, Walid Ragrago, and the players of the national team who were accompanied by their mothers with royal wisdoms. The king has also given his high instruction for the rewarding of royal decorations to the entire technical and medical staff of the national team in recognition of the exceptional work done. Thereafter, King Mohammed VI, accompanied by Crown Prince Moulay Al Hassan and Prince Moulay Rachid, posed for a souvenir photo with the members of the national team and the mothers of the players present. On this occasion, the members of the national team presented the king with souvenirs as an expression for their gratitude to the sovereign for his support throughout this world competition. The reception by the king of the players, accompanied by their mothers, is a tribute to these Moroccan women who have instilled in their children the values of patriotism, sacrifice and national belonging. It is also an expression of the place that the sovereign grants to the Moroccan woman as a pillar of the family and society in general. Players who have defected from the PGA Tour to join Saudi-funded LIV Golf are still welcome at the Masters next year, even as Augusta national officials expressed disappointment Tuesday in the division it has caused in golf. The Masters, the smallest field among the 4 majors, is by invitation, and there was some questions whether it would honor the PGA Tour's suspending place, including past Masters champions, for joining a rival league. Chairman Fred Radley put determined over the ongoing battle, which is now playing out in federal court with antitrust lawsuits and countersuits. Although we are disappointed in this development, our focus is to honor the tradition of bringing together a preeminent field of golfers this coming April, Ridley said in a statement, which were his first comment on how Augusta National viewed the divide. Thereafter, as invitations are sent this week, we will invite those eligible under our current criteria to compete in the 2023 Masters Tournament. 16 players with LIV Golf are among the 78 players currently eligible for the Masters. That includes 6 Master champions, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Sergio Garcia, Bubba Watson and Charles Schwartzel. 3 others have won majors that come with a 5-year exemption, British Open champion Cameron Smith, former US Open and PGA champion Brooks Koepka, and former US Open champion Bryce DeChambeau. Joaquin Niemann qualified by reaching the Tour Championship, while 6 others will finish the year in the top 50 of the world ranking: Abraham Ancer, Tyler Gooch, Harold Warner III, Jason Kokrak, Kevin Na and Louis Oosthuizen. The British Open has said it would not turn away those eligible. The US Open hasn't said if its criteria will change, and that is expected at the USGA annual meeting in February. The PGA Championship has not said what it will do. Here's the weather forecast of all major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.